How you doing, Dan?
How are you?
How you doing?
Doing all right. I'm a little tired at the moment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. I'm exhausted. It feels like it's the end of the week, not the beginning. That's ridiculous. $50 to go to a pond in your own town. It's one thing if it was another town's pond.
Guess what? Guess what?
I mean, you pay property taxes. Shouldn't that be enough?
Don't even get me going. Don't even get. Please don't.
That's what I'd be saying to the selectman across the street. Hey, buddy, I pay how many thousands a year? And I have to pay an extra $50 to use a town service?
Well, let me tell you something else. You know what that, I've been in the house for 4 years now. Up until this year, it was $35. It went to $50 this year. So a $15 increase, let's see, my basic math on 35 is 3/7. So it went from 35 to 50, which is a 42% increase. Well, that's slightly hefty, isn't it?
How will you feel when your taxes on your house go up 42% next year?
Oh God, I hope it doesn't.
And then 50 the next.
Well, it's real simple. I mean,
your taxes, I told you, Dan, in 2 years, 3 years tops, your taxes will be 2 to 3 times higher than they are right now.
Well, then I'll have to sell the house.
You won't be able to sell the house. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. You'll have to take $100,000 off your house just to get rid of it.
Jesus.
Listen, if you study history, this is what history tells you.
Yeah.
If you believe what's coming.
No, I do believe what's coming.
If you don't believe it, then you stay in you keep your head in the sand. If I stay silent, it won't see me. Don't move. As they say, actions speak louder than words.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, I uploaded the last Jim Willie interview.
Okay.
And I have a discussion that we did 3 weeks ago that I never got around to editing because 5 seconds you're doing that. And it's like when you do that, it takes time to edit it out.
Okay.
So I got so pissed. I'm like, can't this guy go to the doctor for sakes? Or, it's all going to be, his going to be, if this was a tragedy, Dan, you're like, Dan finally builds up the courage and then he finds out he's got lung cancer. And it's all for naught.
Well, it's all going to be for naught anyway. We're all going to drop dead sooner or later.
I hear you.
So I don't have an answer. You're right. I mean, it could be. Who knows? Who knows what?
It's been the plan.
It
was meant to be.
Well, who knows when you're going to get your ticket punched, right? Who knows?
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, to be honest with you.
I don't either. That's my point. I really don't. I don't worry about it.
We know it's going to happen one day.
Yeah, no, I'm not living my life in fear. I had that conversation today, and, they're talking about the COVID thing and this and that, and I'm just like, look, I hear you. I'm not saying it's not real, and I'm not saying certain people aren't getting sick, but in general, what are we going to do? Stay hunkered down in the closets for the next year and a half, like some of our elite and illustrious politicians are suggesting? Okay, we haven't even felt the effects yet of this. Well, no, we have, right? Didn't the GDP this week, didn't they report, took a 35-40% hit for the second?
Nobody's felt that.
That we're in a world now where, to use your words, we've strolled past the line into total freaking absurdity with everything. What used to be true is now considered false. What used to be false is now considered true. What was evil is good. What's good is evil, which the Bible talks about. Oh, by the way, those days will come. I'm paraphrasing. That what is good will be seen as evil, and vice versa. And we're seeing all this. The way I see it, things are flipped upside down now, right?
It's George Orwell.
Yeah, that too. I mean, don't you agree through observation, everything you're seeing? I mean, whether it's financial, social, political, we talk about the...
I've already said it. I think I said it to you earlier today, is after 9/11, they realized how stupid people are in the United States. And they're like, what are we waiting for? This 100-year plan? We can do it in 20.
20? More like 7.5.
9/11 was 20 years ago, dude.
Yeah, right. Well, they orchestrated, 208, 209, and then now we're around 2 now. Never fixed that problem. So it's all, in my opinion, maybe I shouldn't say this, not politically correct. What do I know? I'm John Q. Public, Joe Blow.
What are you talking about?
Well, this is all by design, right? I mean, what's going on?
Do you notice you just coughed again?
I did, yeah. That was only one time so far, right?
No, it's about 22 times.
I haven't coughed 22 times already.
I should send you the raw, unedited video.
Okay. All right.
I've timed it. You can't go more than 45 seconds without coughing. I was sitting there. I'm like, can this guy at least cover his mouth? Because you're like, and by the way, and then when I start talking, you're like, so I can't even hear what I'm saying when I'm editing the video.
Are you going to edit this?
Well,
Sorry,
point is, you've got to be more conscientious of this.
Sorry. This is for the folks at home. This is my snorkel.
I cut all this shit out, dude. Like,
Are you gonna...
that's the other thing. You go on these pontifications, like, you're like, no, I might not be the greatest ball, but according to Don Juan of 1962, I'm like, what the is he talking about?
Well, folks,
like,
I don't...
who are you pandering to?
I don't drink and I don't do drugs, but this, I don't know. Maybe I've dunked my head in the toilet water one too many times. I don't know.
Yeah,
just my stepping stone. No.
It's like that poem. It's like that poem. See, we have a choice. I keep this on my file cabinet. My mother sent this, so she wrote this with the colors and...
Oh, very nice.
Okay. It's called A Bag of Tools by R.L. Sharpe. Isn't it strange that princes and kings and clowns that caper in sawdust rings and common people like you and me are builders for eternity?
Yes.
Each is given a bag of tools, a shapeless mass, a book of rules, and each must make ere life is flown a stumbling block or a stepping stone.
Yeah, that's true.
And that goes to, and I'm guilty of this, sometimes I look at things as stumbling blocks when really they're stepping stones.
Well, vice versa, I guess.
Because we're all going to get kicked in the teeth at some point.
No doubt about it. If you live long enough, we've talked about this, to the 20-year-olds out there, 25, 30-year-olds that are still looking flawless with the perfect hairdo and streamlined waist and everything else.
Yeah.
You and I were there at one point. And, if you live long enough, call it 50 years plus or minus, you are going to take some shots here and there, literally and figuratively, financially, culturally, personally, whatever.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Maybe even physically.
Yep, you're lucky if the biggest problem you have is you ran out of Grey Poupon.
Right.
Pardon me.
Or grape jelly, yeah.
Do you have any Grey Poupon?
Exactly.
Remember those commercials?
I do. Yeah, I do.
The guy would pull up in his Rolls
Bentley.
Royce or his Bentley.
Yeah. And he'd be like,
"Excuse me." And he's like out in the middle of the country.
yeah,
The other guy's like herding the goats.
with all the plebes.
He's like, "Excuse me. Do you have any Grey Poupon?" And the shepherd's like, Why, yes, I do.
Excuse me, plebeian, oh plebeian.
You got the wrong guy if you think I'm going to go out there and run for office and try to convince people of something that they're never going to believe.
Yeah.
My name's not David Martyr. I don't waste my time. See, you still believe in the system. That's why you don't take action, like drastic action. Like I told you, if you really believed the things that you're afraid of, you called me up saying, "Oh my God, this is good," then that's why I asked you the other day, what would it take for you to say, I got to do this now? So that's why I say, I mean, what would it take? I mean, it's, at some point, when you decide to walk away, you're going to end up leaving something on the table. There's no way around that. Either you do what the Dollar Vigilante did, where he wound things down. So he transitioned. He made a conscious decision that I'm doing this before it falls apart, so I can basically prepare my new life, because that's going to, I mean, and I don't mean to sound condescending when I see this, Dan, is I know you think you know, but you really have no concept of what's on the other side of the fence because you've never put your boots on the ground. And that's a major, major mistake because you have no idea. I mean, the last thing you want to do is wait until the is in the fan, and then you have to decide where you're going, because you may find out you just jumped from the frying pan into the fire. And that's why I say, some people don't believe this is ever going to happen. And if you don't believe it's ever going to happen, then those people are doing the right thing by staying exactly where they are and doing exactly what they're doing. And the reason I say it to you, Dan, I've visited a lot of countries, and I have yet to find one where I'm like, I got to go there tomorrow. All of them have major, major problems.
Yeah.
And when I say major problems, like right now, those places work because what it does right now, Dan, is it allows me to get away from the United States for X amount of months a year, right? And that's how I'm able to tolerate being in this country right now, because I'm not here 12 months a year.
Yeah.
But if I had to go there for 12 months a year, I would probably feel like I do if I had to be here 12 months a year, right?
Yeah.
The Dollar Vigilante dude.
Yep.
I think his life probably was in such a tailspin, he had nothing to lose by going to Mexico.
God almighty. There's no freaking shame here.
I'm going to add sounds to it.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. What an asshole.
You remember in Revenge of the Nerds, you remember that guy, Ogre, who was the football player?
Yeah, he was a beast.
And there was a scene where they showed him in the background urinating. And the scene was like 5 minutes long, and he was urinating the whole 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's funny. What a piss, huh?
He's sitting there.
That's pretty funny.
Oh,
The human fire hose.
Hilarious.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of old movies. We need to cover some old movies actually, like, show like 30-second clips and stuff. Back in the day,
Well, we were talking about it online at the premiere of that video today, and I said to them, somebody asked, what happened to Jim? What happened to his face? I said, oh, he had a bike accident. I said, do you remember I don't know if you remember, I don't know if they're up in Massachusetts. You remember the Maaco ads? Uh-oh, better get Maaco.
Yeah, a long time ago, I remember.
And the guys are driving the car and they look at the girl and,
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
uh-oh, better get Maaco.
yep, yep, absolutely.
I said to them, I said, do you think that they could even show that commercial today? I said, people would probably go and burn down the stores.
Yeah, I guess that would be like insensitive and politically incorrect and everything else, no?
Yeah, I say bring Archie Bunker's show back.
Oh, geez, dude, forget it. You know how many lawsuits, and you want to talk about being attacked and ridiculed. Forget it.
Find advertisers today.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. It would be funny on one hand, but on the other hand, from a social commentary standpoint, I can't imagine the disruption it would cause.
Well, you know what I noticed, dude, and this started transitioning X amount of years ago. However, it was when people talk about those type of topics, and I don't watch these shows, but from what I've heard,
Mm-hmm.
that's why these cartoon shows are so popular today,
Oh,
like South Park,
oh yeah, yeah, right.
Simpsons, whatever they are, because they can cover those topics, but it's only a cartoon,
That's a good point.
right?
Yeah, that's a real good point. South Park covers some very hard-hitting stuff. They really do.
I've never seen it, but I've seen the aftermath of discussion. And
I used to watch some episodes in the past. Yeah, yeah. No, they do a good job. Oh yeah, no, they cover a lot of topics. Yeah.
yep, even like all the way back to Beavis and Butthead, as stupid as that was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
No,
couldn't
but
do something probably that stupid today.
yeah. Yeah, well, it would be insulting to people, probably. I mean, we just have a society now. They didn't grow up like us or the boomers. Uh, with thick skin and everything else, right?
Well, let me ask you a question. Speaking of thick skin, I don't know if you saw any of these comments. There was one person who commented on one of the Jim Willie interviews, okay?
Oh, interesting.
And this is what they said to me. Something to this
Oh, wow.
effect. I'd have to read it, find it to read it. Something to the effect of, I really don't like the way you edited these videos. Something to that effect. I don't like the way you edit.
Wow.
You jump all over the place, or
Wow.
and I wrote back to them and I explained to them that you were in that interview and I had to edit a lot of stuff because number one, Jim was all over the place, and number two, he went off on these tangents that I couldn't leave in, if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. And I
So-
guess they wouldn't realize that.
and I said to I think it was a woman, and I said to her, I said, listen, I said, it's just me, but I said, yeah, I don't get paid to do this. I said, I tried to, oh, and they said they didn't like that I broke it into multiple videos instead of editing as one long video, something like that. And I said, listen, I have a life, I mean, I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart for other people. And I said, you know what I do? You know what I do when somebody actually does something for me, does something who's not getting paid, who actually takes the time and effort to do something for me? You know what I say? I say,
You thank them.
thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't say, this really sucks. You should do this. You should do a better job at this. And I'm like, does that make sense to you? And they wrote back saying, wow, I'm so sorry to hear you have such thin skin. And I said, do me a favor. I said, since you say that I should strive to be better at this, that shouldn't I want to take pride in the quality of work that I put out there? I said, do me a favor. Send me a sample of your work so I can judge the quality of your work. How's that? And I said, I will bet you all my money that you don't even have any work to show me.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm sensitive. It's just, I really don't have time. Could I put another 4 or 5 hours into a video to get it like pristine? Yes, I could. But why would I? Why would I? There's something called the law of depreciating returns. It's adequate.
I understand that.
What I edited, it tells the story. I don't have to turn it into a PBS documentary.
Yeah.
You know, add sound effects, and music, and diagrams, and colors, and, you know, yeah, if you were paying me to do something, then I would do all that.
Of course.
So, I mean, when somebody says, don't you take pride in what you do? Listen, if you're that stupid that you didn't get anything from that video, then there's nothing I can do for you. Because I mean, you probably haven't watched the videos, but I have watched them all because I edited them all. And I think that, and I said this to them, I said, obviously, I thought they were very good, or I wouldn't have released it. No, it just drives home what I've told you before is, and, you know, this is why in our country we have the attitude of I'm going to get mine and fuck you, you go get yours.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a time, even 40 years ago, whatever, 50 years ago, when we were small, you know, in terms of business, a handshake literally would settle a lot of things. And if somebody said they were going to do something, for example, they were going to do it. That the word was good enough. People stood on their word, right? Because the word is part of you. If you extend your word, that's an extension of you. If you say you're going to do something, then you have to do it. But we live in a world now, in particular our society, to your point, nobody would take your word now. Even, you know, it's just not how it is anymore, right? You know, I mean, people.
But just this woman, okay, like we said, I mean,
it's got to be documented, annotated, laminated, and then backed up with 16 lawyers.
well, I mean, you've got some sack potato, couch potato, who is probably, it's like that Teddy Roosevelt saying where, you know, these people who are making these judgments when they've never been in the ring.
100%. The two men in the ring striving, blah, 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 dirt on their faces, you know, in the heat of the day, they're sweating, but they're in the ring. They're actually trying to do something. And then you've got the pundits or whatever, the doughboy sitting on the sideline who's never, you know, done anything or very little, and they eat Twinkies on the couch all day, you know, like, well, you should do it this way. It's quintessential America today, right? You've got the couch potatoes that are sports fanatics sitting in the stands. They haven't exercised since fourth grade, but all of a sudden he's criticizing the professional athlete. Well, you need to step back and throw it this way, and you totally missed that one. Meanwhile, he's got a gut out to here.
Pass the popcorn.
Yeah, he's got a power gut, you know, 102-pound gut, and he hasn't gotten off the couch in 14 years. But, you know, he's going to know how to tiptoe down the sidelines and score the touchdown. Yeah. No, I hear you loud and clear. And, oh, by the way, he's happy to pay $120 to park his car.
This is why.
And then $200 for a ticket and $20 for a beer. He's good with that. I'm not, but he's good with that.
So why would we expect those people to have any curiosity or question 9/11 or even the Kennedy report?
95% are not going to. That's my answer. Probably 95% are not going to question it. Let me leave it at this, okay? I'm not an expert, a structural engineer or munitions expert, but when I see a building come like straight down like this, vertically, just perfectly.
How many buildings?
I mean, that tells me that
Not one.
structurally speaking,
Not two.
charges were set, right? Yeah. They all did this, right? Straight down, right? I mean, supposedly the girders melted from the heat and all that, right? I'm not a chemistry expert, but to melt girders and to turn them in from that,
Well, we don't want to go down that path.
iron or steel.
Let me just throw this at you while it's in my head. You remember?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to.
Remember a couple years ago? You remember a couple years ago when Chicago or Illinois started releasing all these guys on death row who were going to be executed, but they had done DNA tests and they found that these guys weren't the guys.
Vaguely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, all of them were convicted because the cops probably coerced somebody to say you saw this guy.
Oh yeah, it's all. Yeah.
Get on the no. Listen to me, please. Don't interrupt, because this is I need to finish this. Okay.
Okay.
So they get on the stand. They say, yeah, it's him. It's him. Yep. So they send this guy away. Probably hundreds of them have been killed already, but they released probably dozens that were exonerated on somebody's testimony. You remember what Jim Willey said, saying those weren't airplanes? But you're going to have people who say, I saw them. I saw them. We now know that people's eyewitness testimony is the least reliable form of prosecution, right, of evidence.
Well, if you ask 2 people, 4 people, 6 people what happened, you're probably going to get at least 3 different answers, 4 different versions. That's true. People remember certain pieces, or sometimes they remember the same piece, but they'll remember the same piece differently. I might see red, you saw blue, this guy saw purple. That's true. And that's why in the intelligence community, they call it corroborating the story, triangulating it with at least 3 sources, right? For sure. You know, and
unreliable.
And it's never going to be perfect, by the way, but they're looking for the common theme and they're looking for the major pieces of the story, right?
So how many of those people in New York do you think actually would be able to tell the difference between a drone, a cruise missile, and an airplane?
Well,
flying in at hundreds of miles an hour into a side of a building.
Well, let me put it this way. I know where I was that day at 8:43 in the morning. I was standing in front of a 15-foot wide TV on the wall in a data center that we just built, watching for one of the buildings, 1 or 2 of them, what appered to be a plane flying into.
Did you ever see Wag the Dog, the movie with Dustin Hoffman?
No, but I'm just saying it looked like a plane to me.
So they pre-created footage.
Maybe.
Have ready.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, if CNN, if somebody made that footage, pre-recorded it, whatever, and then put it up via CNN, how the hell would I know it's Joe Blow? I mean,
but to have the BBC,
I wouldn't know.
In front of Building 7 saying, we just got a news report that Building 7 has fallen. And there it is, right in back of them, standing up. And then it came down an hour later.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Nobody even questioned that?
Apparently not.
Well, it's kind of like saying, gee, I'm sorry, Dan, that your wife is dead. And then she's standing right behind you, and an hour later, she's got a knife in her chest.
Yeah, that was.
Nobody would put 2 and 2 together, right? Just a coincidence.
You would hope in a case like that they would. Let me ask you this question. What has happened to reporting the last 20 or 30 years? There was a time, maybe it's been fake the last 50 years. Maybe you got to go all the way back to Walter Cronkite era. Or maybe that started getting fake.
I thought you listened to Gerald Celente.
I do.
What does he call them? What does he call them?
I haven't listened to him lately, but
he's been calling them for 10 years.
The fake media.
He calls them Presstitutes.
Right.
Why does he call them Presstitutes? What does that mean?
Well, because they're bought and paid for, right?
Bought and paid for.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, according to the Constitution, you're supposed to have freedom of the press, number one, and then essentially as well, it's supposed to be the watchdog for the people, right? Or watchdog, on the part of the people as it relates to the government, right? And that's clearly not the case anymore. It hasn't been for I don't know how long.
What I find to be most tragic of everything, Dan, and you ask why millennials are upset, this is why. Because maybe they're just smart enough to realize that everything that you and I and everybody before us bought as fact, they're looking at it and saying, What, you think I'm that stupid?
Yeah, no, it's a good
You
point.
think I'm
No.
buying into this?
Well, here's the thing. That's a good point. So what I would say to that is they're definitely sharp. They're definitely, I would say, smarter than I was at that age, for sure. But they also have what you and I didn't have 25, 30 years ago. They've got far more tools. Okay. Now, granted, the tools that they have in place, the internet, Facebook, YouTube,
Well, too much
Twitter.
information's a bad thing sometimes.
Well, on one hand, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, they have access to more information and tools than we ever had. On the other hand, you still need to be discerning, right? You kind of got it. You're like a miner in a way. You're sifting dirt into your net or whatever, looking for the gems. There's still X amount of dirt that you need to sift through. You can't take everything at face value and be like, yeah, just because it's on the internet, it's got to be gospel. We know this isn't the case, right? We know that. Does reporting anymore? There was a time with reporting, for example, where you corroborated your sources before you throw something out there or slap it up, right? And we know in a lot of cases now with these supposed professional outlets, they just throw stuff up there. They didn't even corroborate the information. They don't know if it's freaking true or not, but it sounds good, right? And
That's
it's going to
why
make the
people
6
listen.
o'clock news, and it's going to be sensational.
Well, that's why there's people like Jim Willie, Alex Jones, Silver Liberties, and David and Dan.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, it's because we don't believe any of it. So people have to try to piece together information from various sources.
Yes.
And like you said, if you start hearing the same story from 3, 4, 5 different sources, then maybe smoke is fire, right?
Maybe there's some validity. Yeah, I mean, because what are your choices? They're either all liars, they're either all telling the truth, or they're all crazy, or maybe a combination thereof.
Yeah, or they've all been fed the same story. Silver and gold are up slightly tonight.
Yeah, I think this week is going to be real interesting. Monday should be interesting. I think though, based on looking at the charts and stuff the last day or two, I could be a small pullback as well. Some people are saying with silver, for example, it could be a pullback potentially to about $21 or so. That's kind of a little bit steep, I think. But maybe we've had the pullback in it. I don't know. But long term, whatever you want to define that is, it's going higher, in my opinion. But who knows what the powers that be will do? Who knows what the invisible hand will do? Who knows if the big old whack-a-mole will come out? I mean, basically, you look at the history of silver, folks, for those of you that don't know this, it's been almost 147 years that silver has been grossly manipulated. Silver's at around $24.50 now an ounce. I mean, if you look at all the applications of silver, there's hundreds, if not thousands of applications besides currency, industrial uses. Our entire modern lifestyle is based on silver, whether most people know it or not. Let's say you hypothetically take silver altogether out of the equation, even for industrial use. We can't get by. You and I sure as hell aren't doing the Zoom thing, for sure. Technology relies on it. Computer components rely on it, so on and so forth. Even gold is more abundant than silver on the planet, from what I understand. So the price of silver, I mean, and the other thing to keep in mind is if you look at the total, if you go out to the U.S., if you go out to the website, Dave, for the U.S. debt clock, you know that website? You've seen it?
I've sent it to you.
With the numbers going, blah, blah, blah. If you look at the lower right-hand corner, the actual value of silver per ounce based on the currency,
Yeah, it was
I guess
$800 an ounce last time I looked.
No, it's like $3,961 or something like that, just under $4,000. I looked at it in the last day or two.
Gold, not silver.
No, silver.
Well,
Silver.
well,
Silver. Yeah. In terms of U.S. dollars, yeah. With all the money they've printed over, and, you know, particularly the last few years, yeah.
Hold on. I'm doing it.
It's 39 and change, man. Yeah.
I did a video last summer on the debt clock, so I'm going to call it up and it will show.
Excuse me. Yeah, call it up. Yeah. I didn't mean to diatribe. I'm sorry, but anyway, whatever. That's a metal that's been manipulated for 150 years, and it's robbed the wealth of the people at large. Bottom line, and we're told to love paper and fiat currency. We're taught that from, you know, indoctrinated from the most earliest ages, and we don't know any better. The wealthy know, the elite know better, but the rank and file don't. Is that by design? I don't know. You tell me. They don't teach it in school, though. I'll tell you that. I don't believe they do. You're a quack if you talk about that stuff. You're a freak show. But we do know, since the inception of the Federal Reserve in 1913, I think in December 23rd, 1913 to the present, you know, at that point, since its inception, the dollar was worth 100 cents on a dollar. Comparatively speaking, right now, the dollar's worth, what, 2 cents, 3 cents? So that's not a good thing, right? That's by design.
Yeah, it's like 3 cents.
Yeah. So I hear these people all the time. But people are making more money than ever before. Look at my house. It's worth $800,000. No, it's not. The house was built in 1964 and sold for $15,000. Now you're telling me it's worth $800,000? Really? The cost of materials have gone up that much, and labor as well, and just intrinsic value in general? Really? Intrinsically speaking, the house has gone up that much in just 40 years. Really? I don't buy it. It's called your currency is devalued with built-in inflation. That's what that's called. So you're getting paid more in aggregate dollars, but your buying power is far less, to put it in layman terms. I'm not Al Greenspan, but that's basically what's happened.
Yeah, I'm calling up the video now. I just hope I can tell the...
Then you got all these PhD eggheads trying to explain this, how this is all normal. MMT, modern, what is it, modern monetary theory? What a joke that is. You familiar with that? Oh, yeah.
Well, I am. I've sent you videos on that from Michael.
We can print as much money as we want as possible. It's not going to cause any problems. We'll just make it up through taxation.
Yeah, I'm going to the the video. You tell me if you can see this.
I see it. Lower right-hand corner. Last I looked. Yep.
Paper to silver, $196.99. You see it?
Yeah, I see it.
And this was last August.
Last August. Okay. Yeah, no, I was looking at it a day or two ago.
No, this is what it was August. Well, we can go to what it is right now.
Yeah. I thought it was a lot bigger than that right now. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Well, if it is that high, Dan, it's shocking because, like I told you, I remember it being around 700 or 800 bucks.
Well, even that, though, to your point, compared to 24 bucks is massive, right?
Oh my God, dollar to gold ratio, 32,000.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
And look at silver, dollar to silver ratio, 4,000 per ounce. There you go. Yep. It was 39.61 a day or two ago.
What is the paper to silver ratio? What is that? The year here. Come on.
Yeah, I told you, $4,000, dude.
Shrink this.
Dollar to silver ratio now is 4,000 per ounce.
Number of paper silver ounces traded on. Why even have that, for crying out loud? Dollar to silver. Okay, so that's the yearly world production.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they broke it out like this on my video. If I go back, COVID.
But you see how it's $4,000, dude?
Yeah, I do see that. I'm going back to the video now.
Yeah, that's incredible.
You know, the other thing I was thinking is, you know, when I was in Korea, they pay like $10 a month for their internet, and they get like 100 gigabytes a second. Over here, you're supposed to have 100 gigabytes a second, and the thing moves like a snail.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have that.
No.
See, they changed this because dollar to.
Yeah, they changed it in the last year or so. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, because dollar to silver right there, 724. So
Well,
it's gone from 724 to how much? 4,000?
4,000. You just saw it a minute ago. Yeah, it's gone up over 5 times. Yeah. Well, that's how much money we've been printing. Haven't we printed just 3 trillion alone this year? 4 trillion, something like that.
I thought it was 7.
There you go.
No, it was 7 because when Obama finished off, it's funny money at this point, Dan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt about it. It's farcical. You remember where we left off?
We're on Revelation 3. We're reading to the other churches. I'll let you read this week. How's that?
You want me to read? Okay.
You up for it?
So, yeah, why not? To the church in Sardis. Sardis is somewhere in the Mediterranean, right?
I thought it was Turkey.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
It's definitely in the Mediterranean or the Aegean region, for sure.
It's not, no, the island, there's an island, but I don't think it's Sardis is the island.
Yeah, no, the church Sardis is in the Mediterranean region. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on, let me look it up. Sardis was an ancient city at the location of in Turkey's Manisa province.
There you go. Probably along the Aegean somewhere.
Yeah, so I got that one right.
If it's Western Turkey, right?
We know Philadelphia. The next church is Philadelphia. We know that's Greece.
Okay.
And, right?
Laodicea.
Greece, right?
Laodicea, I believe so, yeah.
It's definitely Greece, right?
I think so. I would say so. Probably northern Greece, I'm guessing.
And actually, it's saying it's now situated in Turkey.
Laodicea?
It was located in the Hellenistic regions of Carla and Lydia.
Okay.
I guess Turkey took it over.
There you go. All right.
They have had fights.
Oh, absolutely. The Greeks and the Turks over the millennium.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, the ancient church, I mean, Constantinople, right? I mean, that was Christian for 1,000 years.
It's gone back and forth between Christian and Muslim, right?
Well, Constantinople, I mean, I think that was what, 1200 that it became Istanbul?
Yeah. Well, you had the Ottoman Empire from what, 1618 to 1918, I thought.
Yeah, 1453.
Or 1518. I thought it was 400 years, the Ottoman Empire.
Well, according to I just Googled it real quick. It said Constantinople was founded in 330 AD and dissolved in 1453.
Yeah, that wasn't the Ottoman Empire. That's true.
What?
Yeah. No, that was not the Ottoman Empire. That was later. Yep. This was a different empire you're talking about. It was Middle Eastern, basically, but.
Well, it was the end of the Christian reign in that city.
Yeah, and the Crusades were around those times too, right? There were 6 or 7 Crusades.
I thought that stuff. I mean, the Crusades lasted over 100 years, didn't it?
Yeah, between the 12th and 13th centuries, I thought.
Yeah, it's
I mean, the Crusades, in a nutshell, my understanding was they get sort of a bad rap saying the Christians were being offensive, but that actually they were being, you could argue, defensive in nature. They were trying to repel, Muslims.
Well,
they were trying to repel Muslims from coming into Western Europe, basically.
Yeah, well, that half of Spain was occupied for 100 years or however long. I mean, you go
Yeah.
to Spain and you can see very different, like in
Southern Spain, I think. Yeah.
where the Alhambra is in Granada, Spain. That's
Yeah.
basically where the Moors were stopped.
Yeah, the Moors. Yeah, the Moors were in Spain. Correct. Yeah, they were there a
So
long
you
time.
see what used to be an English castle was then taken over by the Muslims.
Yes.
And so that's why the Alhambra is such a famous place to
Yeah.
visit, because it's a mix of both cultures.
Yes. Yeah. And religions, I guess, as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let me go to the top. So this is going to be a short reading, but at least we'll finish this part of Revelations.
That's fine. To the church in Sardis, to the angel of the church in Sardis, write. Now this is all in red. This is Christ speaking. These are the words of the one who holds the seven spirits of God and the seven stars. I know your deeds. You have a reputation for being alive, yet you are dead. Wake up and strengthen what remains, which was about to die. For I have found your deeds incomplete in the sight of my God. Remember then what you have received and heard. Keep it and repent. If you do not wake up, I will come like a thief, and you will not know the hour when I will come upon you. But you do have a few people in Sardis who have not soiled their garments, and because they are worthy, they will walk with me in white. Like them, he who overcomes will be dressed in white, and I will never blot out his name from the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and his angels. He who has an ear, we said this earlier, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. So yeah, the book of life, real quick, that's talked about way back in the Old Testament. I forget which book. But basically, if you're a believer, if you've become born again, like Christ says you need to, and accept Christ as your the Son of God and your Savior, your life is recorded into what's called the Lamb's Book of Life. And basically, that's God's way and Christ's way of reserving a slot for you, basically, in heaven, if your name is recorded in that book. That's essentially what that means. If your name is not in that book, you're in a world of hurt.
Is that synonymous with being baptized?
Well, when you're born again, you're essentially baptized. Yeah, again, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, you're dipped under the water and brought back up and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And the purpose of being born again is because to make right with God, and because at that point, you know, you're at an age of cognizance where, you know, you truly understand, right? I mean, being baptized when you're an infant, you don't know what's going on. How can you accept Christ when you're a fledgling, an infant, a newborn infant? So,
Do most Christian sects have a second baptism for you when you're an adult?
I don't know the answer to that. Here's what I do know. Here's what people need to understand about the Bible. And this is where people go wrong all the time. Religion, the Bible is not about religion. Being born again is not about religion. Believing in Christ that he's the Son of God is not about religion. Christ even talks about it in different parts of the Bible. I mean, to put it in layman terms, God is not interested in religion, guys, at all. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about
Man-made institutions.
Yeah, I mean, this church, that church, my church is better than yours. That's not what it's about. It's about having a relationship with the Creator and accepting his gift. That's what it's about. And
but people who go to church every Sunday or every Saturday or every Friday, they're not going to agree with that.
Well, you could go to church all you want. If that's all you do, and you were not born again, then it doesn't matter. If you've never consciously made the effort to become born again and accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, you can go to church till you're blue in the face.
Well, Dan, you just read a passage from Revelation 3.
Mm-hmm.
Who's he addressing it to? A church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, this is him saying, guys, you need to wake up. It's not enough to look like or to dress the part. You have to be the part. And you have to make a definitive stand. It's what I said 1 or 2 videos ago, which is God's not lukewarm. He doesn't mess around. You're either with him or against him. You're either in his camp or not in his camp. You're either on his side of the fence or you're not on his side of the fence. It's that simple.
well, I'm going to make a very controversial statement, and I really don't care, okay? But the theme tonight, we just went from 9/11 and into the Presstitutes, and that they're bought and paid for. Well, maybe the churches today are all worried too much about money and being bought and paid for rather than doing the right thing.
No doubt about it in most cases. Yeah. I'm not going to name churches. I could. But we know some of the most major ones. And one of them in particular has more wealth than probably most Fortune 100 and 500 companies, if not all of them. And I won't name names. They're in real estate. They own stock, fine art, you name it, cash, gold, silver, whatever.
Yeah, we have no idea where those tentacles go.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. They've subscribed, and you could argue as a result of everything I rattled off, to the ways of this world as a result, right? The other thing is, and I brought this up before, how
Obviously,
come?
they've influenced this world, Dan.
Yeah, right. So this is why, Christ all throughout the Bible, and he's doing it here too, but he calls the church out constantly. He called the church out constantly. He called the Pharisees and the Sadducees out constantly, these so-called learned and most holy men. He called them out constantly. He called them hypocrites to their face. They hated his guts. They couldn't stand him.
What church was that?
Well, he's calling the churches out here, number one, which we haven't finished reading through them all.
But Pharisees weren't Christians,
They were holy men, right?
right, COVID boy?
Yeah, they were holy. Well, I haven't coughed in a while, so give me a break. So,
How many times have I coughed?
once? No, 0. All right, I've coughed like 3 times. Give me a break. So anyway, I'll drink more water.
We'll have
Sorry.
a Dan cough count on the video.
Oh, jeez. It'll be like the U.S. dead count. Doink, 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 doink. No.
Wow, it's 3,000. Holy cow.
He's down from 4,200.
Place your bets.
All right, I'll read this one real quick. To the church in Philadelphia. To the angel of the church in Philadelphia, write, these are the words of the one who is holy and true, who holds the key of David. What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door which no one can shut, for you have only a little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. Look at those who belong to the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews but are liars instead. I will make them come and bow down at your feet, and they will know that I love you. Because you have...
Can we stop there for a second, please?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a very powerful paragraph, and I just need to make sure I understand this.
Process it, yeah.
So I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door which no one can shut. For you have only a little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. Look at those who belong to the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews but are liars instead. I will make them come and bow down at your feet, and they will know that I love you. What is the synagogue of Satan? Who claim to be Jews but are liars. Could that be the the Jews from Eastern Europe that I was, who are the fake Jews, who basically make up most of Israel today, are the fake Jews, the Ashkenaz Jew.
I don't know. You'd have to ask someone.
Because the real Jew, now I haven't been over there, but from what I hear, the real Jew in Israel is actually discriminated against intensely. In fact, there has only been one prime minister who's actually a true Jew in Israel.
Okay.
You didn't know this?
No. No.
Yep. Well, I do not claim to be an expert in this, but when I have read about it, I believe the term is Ashkenazi or something like that, Jew. And I'm not going to get into the whole story, but basically there was a king of an Eastern European empire who had to decide whether he was going to basically convert to being Muslim, Christian, or Jew, because he thought that it would help his people become better citizens. And he ended up going through that process, and they chose to convert to Judaism. And then they basically became, that's what became like the Russian Jew, right? And the Jews of Eastern Europe. And that's who really became the center of what became known as Israel, or when Israel was formed after World War II. They are not members of the original 12 tribes.
Well, I was going to say the original 12 tribes were dispersed during the time of Roman occupation at around 70 AD. And that's where the term Palestine comes from. When they wiped Judea literally off the map and the Romans renamed it Palestine. Most people don't know that. And at that point, the 12 tribes from Judea and I guess Jerusalem were dispersed around the world at that point. And that's why you have Jews, or over the millennium have had Jews all over the place. Even in North Africa, from North Africa to Eastern Europe into Russia, different parts of Europe, I guess. But what's been happening is since World War II, or the installation of the Jewish state after World War II, 1948 or something, they've been coming back to Israel the last 60 years. And that was prophesied in the Bible, by the way. The installation of the Jewish state after World War II was prophesied, as was that the tribes would come back slowly but surely.
Well,
bottom line is, folks, if you look at history, whether it's been, Hitler, whatever, everybody who's messed with the Jews since the beginning of time, they're nowhere to be found now. They're all gone. They're God's chosen people. God said they're his chosen people. And anybody that's messed with them, whether you like it or not, don't take my word for it. History has shown what has happened to them. They're all gone. All of them. But Israel is here and intact. So,
well,
take from that what you will.
Well, I don't know what Revelation 3-9 means then.
Well, I can tell you in general that before the Antichrist comes on the scene and the false prophet, there's going to be a lot of phonies at lower levels as well. In other words, folks, you're going to have pastors that claim to be Christians and that claim to be for God, but they're not. They are a wolf in sheep's clothing. And that's prophesied as well in the last days.
Yep. Well,
oh, this is what this says to me partly, and what it also says to me is that Christ is saying to those that will, hold firm to their convictions and their beliefs in Him, He'll take care of you. He's in control. That's what it says to me. Because you have kept my command to preserve, I will also keep you from the hour of testing. Persevere, sorry. I will also keep you from the hour of testing that is about to come upon the whole world to test those who dwell on the earth. Okay, so this, I kind of preluded to this and didn't realize it. I am coming soon. This is the second coming of Christ, guys. Not a joke. It's going to happen. Nobody knows when, but it will. No man knows. Hold fast to what you have so that no one will take your crown. The one who overcomes, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he will never again leave it. Upon him I write the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem that comes down out of heaven from my God, and my new name. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. So, you want me to give you kind of a small inference what this paragraph is referring to?
Shoot.
What's going to happen is after the 7-year tribulation, and we talked about this in one of the other videos, it's broken up into 2 parts, as I explained before. At the end of the 7-year tribulation, in the second part, I think, or at the end of it, what's going to happen is there's going to be total peace on earth after Christ comes back and takes care of everything. And that's going to go on for 1,000 years. And he's going to take the devil and essentially cast him down in a pit. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a new world configured, and there's going to be total peace on earth for 1,000 years. And people like you and I that are believers are going to be part of that. And we're going to almost be appointed deputies in a way, building upon and spreading the word of Christ in God's word. That's essentially what's going to happen. That's what this is alluding to. To the church in Laodicea. To the angel of the church in Laodicea write, these are the words of the Amen, or Amen, the faithful and true witness, the originator of God's creation. I know your deeds. You are neither cold nor hot. How I wish you were one or the other. This is Christ saying you need to make up your mind, people. So because you are lukewarm, you've heard me talk about this before where people are trying to ride both sides of the fence. It doesn't work that way with God. Neither hot nor cold. I am about to vomit you out of my mouth. That's pretty strong. You say I am rich. I have grown wealthy and need nothing. But you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. I counsel you to buy from me gold, refined by fire, so that you may become rich, white garments, so that you may be clothed in your shameful nakedness, not exposed, in salve to anoint your eyes, so that you may see. Those I love, I rebuke and discipline. Therefore, be earnest and repent. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and dine with him, and he with me. To the one who overcomes, I will grant the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Pretty powerful. So in layman terms, this is God's way of saying, this is your chance to get right with me. This is your chance to become born again. This is your chance to accept Christ in your life as your Lord and Savior. Don't play the lukewarm thing on me. Don't say you believe in God, but you've not taken the time to become born again. You've not taken the time in particular to not only believe that Christ is the Son of God, died for you, and was crucified for you, and was resurrected 3 days, but also the fact that, you've not taken the time to, acknowledge all this. And if you think about it, guys, with all this COVID, a lot of us don't have excuses right now to be praying more than ever before, which we need to, and to also be reading the Bible and getting right with God. So for all those that say, well, I never have time, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and don't get me wrong, I'm as guilty as the next guy sometimes. This is the time, guys. If ever there was a time, this is probably the time with what's coming.
especially when you're trying to make sense of what is going on in the world.
Well, for the believers, and that have at least a remedial or basic understanding of the word, aka in particular, the book of Revelation, which we're going through, we're in a decent position to kind of know what's coming. But for those that have no clue what's coming, they're going to be in a world of hurt. I mean, you already heard me say, Dave, we know it's coming and it's going to be challenging. It's not going to be a walk in the park. For those that have no clue, it's going to be outright ugly.
Look at
Outright ugly. Outright ugly. And a lot of them aren't going to survive. And you can interpret that any way you want.
Read verse 21, what you just read. What does the first part of that sentence say?
To the one who overcomes.
To the one who overcomes. Overcomes what?
With what's coming.
Yeah.
I will grant the right to sit with me on my throne. In other words, Christ sits on the throne next to God, literally on the right side, I believe. He's his right-hand man, so to speak. So Christ basically, for all his believers, here's the bottom line. For all his believers, Christ has a slot for you. He has a slot for you. Okay? It's recorded in the book's Lamb of Life, and he literally has a slot for you in heaven.
Do you think Jesus Christ had an easy life on earth?
Well, in human terms, no.
That's what I'm talking about, human terms. His life wasn't a bed of roses.
No, not at all. God,
stable.
Yeah. God never promises you guys. Here's another thing, and this is where we get it wrong as human beings. We think we're supposed to have, a fun life and, be partying and be fat, dumb, and happy, drinking wine and the ladies and everything. And I'm driving my nice car and I got my big rings and my big fat house and everything's supposed to be ripping all the time.
Well, maybe that's why Jesus, wasn't tempted, because he didn't have those things.
Yeah. Well, that, and, when you're the son of God, literally, you know the score and you know truly what's important. And chasing a lady in a skirt is, not quite at the same level.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of millennials who would say it is.
Well, hey, I'm as guilty as the next guy, brother. So I am not casting stones at all.
And what do you think of, what comes to your mind when you read verse 20? I'm curious, because I'll tell you what came to my mind when you read it, but what do you think of when you read that sentence?
That's Christ's way of saying that if you open the door,
listen to my question, please. Listen to my question. What comes to your mind when you read that? Not your interpretation. What comes to your mind? Don't think about it. What pops into your mind when you read that sentence?
I mean, what comes to mind is, at least to me, God and Christ is always there. He's always there for you. That's what you're asking me.
That's fine. If that's,
and all you got to do is open up your heart and let him in. But most of us don't do that.
Well, I'll just tell you what came to my mind when you read that.
Okay.
And I don't remember the proper term for this, but you've heard people say that anybody could be Jesus Christ. You've never heard that? Is the guy who comes up and asks for 25 cents or asks for a hamburger or somebody who asks you for help. That could be
100%.
Christ testing you.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
And that's what I think of when you read that. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears me.
That's a great, yeah. That's a fantastic.
That's what popped into my head.
That's a fantastic point. Yeah, I mean, basically, we're tested all the time. We are tested, and we don't realize it. So a great example would be when you're walking down the street, the guy in the business suit with the briefcase, big successful guy making big money, and there's a bum on the corner, and he's got his hand out and he's asking for $1 because he's hungry, and you just stroll right by him and laugh at him and, you know, whisper under your breath, "Get a job, you loser," and you laugh at him. No doubt about it. Let me tell you this is an ancillary to what you just said, because you touched on something huge. When, you know, and people need to understand this, particularly in this country, when we don't treat each other right, and all you got to do is go to the big cities. That's why I don't like big cities, because we don't treat each other right. Every time you treat a human being poorly, whether they're related to you or not, that's an insult to God. Well, what are you talking about, Dan? I don't know this guy. What do I care about this guy? I got to get mine. It's all about me. I need this. I need that. He's in my way. I don't care about this guy. Well, here's what you got to understand. We're all children of God, and that's how God sees it. So when you treat somebody poorly, you're in effect treating God poorly, and that's what he says. And so to your point, he tests us all the time. So if you really want to know a person's true character, their true character, you really see how they treat the most unfortunate in our society. Do they have a good heart? You know, if one time, and I'm not, whatever, one time I was out for Monday Night Football with a bunch of guys, and this guy approached me in the parking lot. He was definitely having issues and had problems, and, you know, he needed help. And I gave him help, right? Gave him $20 bill and talked to him for a few minutes. And, you know, most people wouldn't have gone near him. I'm not saying I'm wonderful. I'm just citing as an example that, you know, God sees everything, right? So,
I don't even think that's really, I know that's what most people reference.
yeah,
This is what I think is even more important.
he sees everything, and and what's in your heart. That's the biggest thing, not what you do and what you say, but what's truly in your heart.
Well, yep.
Because he knows.
But
he knows. That's the ultimate barometer.
Most people are overwhelmed with their lives. Most people are focused 23 hours a day on their problems, their worries. Oh my God, what's the market going to do tomorrow? Oh my God, what's my job going to do? Oh, there's going to be traffic. Oh, it's so hot today. I'm dying. And
absolutely,
you know, and so they forget to say I love you to their family, or to sit down and have a meal together, or
100%.
Or, you know, they don't say hello to their neighbor or the people in your inner circle. And
spot on.
They cut the person off, you know, at the light because it saves them 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And those, I think, are more of the tests than you giving $20 to a bum in a parking lot.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, what I was trying to say is what counts is how you live your life every single day. 100%. All those things you said, from the most little mundane things to the biggest whatever.
Because as you've said before, Dan, is man without God is a
beast.
A beast. And
in my opinion,
that's why we have to really remind ourselves that what is most important. Like when we were at your house, Dan, clear off the table and have dinner together.
Yeah.
Those simple things. How many families actually sit down and have dinner together today? It used to be when we were kids.
Everybody, just about.
Most people would have dinner together as a family.
5, 6 o'clock, like clockwork. They
actually had families back then.
Like clockwork. Like clockwork. And, I actually, yeah.
You know, you could sit down and, hey, how was your day today? Oh, Susie, how was your day today? Right? I mean,
yeah, that doesn't, no, that does not exist anymore. You're describing Leave It to Beaverville. Millennials can't relate to that because we've got 2 or 3 and I'm just citing as an example. I'm not picking on them. I like them.
And leave your cell phone in the drawer. It's not allowed at the dinner table.
We've got 2 or 3 generations now, and this is by design, in my opinion. We've got 2 or 3 generations that have not grown up with a typical traditional family unit, man and woman, father, mother, married people intact.
What do you think it is? About 60%, 70% of households have a mother and father?
Now?
Yeah.
No, it's well under 50%. It's probably like
I was trying to be optimistic.
the traditional family now.
We're now the minority.
Yeah, when you and I grew up, put it this way, I had this discussion the other day with somebody. When I grew up, I didn't know anybody that was divorced when I was 10, 11, 12, 13. I didn't know anybody that was divorced. Now, everybody's divorced. Everybody's divorced.
Some people are on marriage 2, 3, 4, 5.
The first marriage divorce rate is what, 55, 60%. The second marriage is 70%. The third one's around 80%. So yeah, I mean, so many people, I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying statistically, I mean, people 2, 3, 4, 5 marriages. When I lived in North Carolina, there was a guy that lived right next door to me. Great guy, but he was married like 6 times. And sometimes I used to have beer with him, and he'd be over my house having a hamburger because we lived literally adjacent or next door. Real nice guy, good guy. And I'd be like, Mike, I mean, dude, when do you throw the towel in? You know, after I got to know him, you know, joking around. It's like, I'm not judging you, brother, but I'm like, when do you just throw the towel in? After 5 or 6 go rounds, you know, it's like, really?
Well, who would do it the first time today? If it's a 60% divorce rate, that means the 40% who don't get divorced, 60% of them are probably miserable, but they stay together because of the kids or money or family or who knows what are a reason. So that means 85% of people who get married would rather
bottom line,
get married.
Okay. But the bottom line is, and I got to go in a minute, the bottom line is it doesn't have to be that way, right? It doesn't have to be that way. Society has changed.
But that goes to this sentence right here is as we've talked about, Dan, is yeah, we all want to save the world, but if you can't even impact your own circle, how are you going to save the world?
100%. Great point. It all starts with all of us individually, from the most mundane and smallest and minute things to the most biggest things. It all starts with us. And so, like you said, you know, telling your loved ones every day that, you know, that you love them, spending time with them when you can, treating other people right, treating people how you want to be treated. You know, if you don't want to be treated like garbage, maybe you shouldn't treat the other guy like garbage. It's real basic, right? Having dinner together whenever you can. I mean, that is a relic of the past, dude. Nobody has dinner together anymore.
Well,
Nobody.
We've talked about
you and I grew up that way.
But when it comes to business or anything in life, when you share bread with somebody, that is a very powerful connection.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially with your own family members. So like you said, I mean, it was like clockwork for us. Every night at 6 o'clock, we sat down. That's a lost art. I mean, nobody does that because you don't even have families intact anymore, man. Right? I mean, the bulk of the families, they don't even know who the father is, right? That's another thing, right? I mean, we don't teach men to be men anymore because there's no father around. And you can't expect the mother to teach the son to be a man because she's a woman. She doesn't know. She's working 2 or 3 jobs trying to pay the rent and the electricity bill. Do you think she's got time on top of that to teach her son how to be a man?
Well,
but we as a society think, well, she can do that, or she's just as good as a man. And of course she's just as valuable as a man. Of course she is, but she's not a man, just like I'm not a woman. There's certain things a woman brings to the table I could never bring to the table, and vice versa.
Well, what's hilarious is, and I'm going off topic a little bit, but
you're good at that, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so am I.
I follow the path I'm supposed to follow. So if you wanted to cut hair, or if you wanted to be a lawyer, or you wanted to be a doctor, you just can't go out and do those things in most states. You have to get certified or trained.
Or become certifiable, yeah.
But any idiot can have a child.
I'm a great example. I had 3 of them.
Well,
no, but to your
is it any surprise that we have these problems in our society when you have people who aren't really qualified? I mean, having a child, like they talk about what's more impactful? I mean, having a child that becomes a problem or a burden to society is probably one of the worst things you could do.
Yeah, spot on. Here's the bottom line. Because we don't have families intact anymore, and because there's not a father at home for the most part anymore, the kid grows up bewildered, in a lot of cases,
Government.
screwed up mentally. And then if it really gets bad, they're in juvenile court, and then they're committing crimes. And all of the lessons they never got, now they're standing in front of the judge as an adult at 20. Right? But it's too late then. It's too late.
That's why a lot of people support abortion.
Oh, geez.
I'm telling you, that's why a lot of people support abortion, because I've had people tell me, hey, man, one less kid to become an animal.
Okay, you know what? That's a stupid answer, and I'll tell you why. Because they obviously are not taking God into account and believe in God. Because I can tell you right now, that's part of America's problem. And I don't care if people laugh at me, but that's another way that America has been turning its back against God. Against God. And all you need to do is read the Bible, and whether it's the Old Testament or it's Chronicles, which the Chronicles 1 and Chronicles 2 of the New Testament, or the Old Testament, that is,
so a girl gets pregnant.
Talks about all the times that Israel turned their back on God. It's a perfect example. Every king that ever turned his back on God got routed, like every single time, right? God's not going to bless you if you do the wrong thing. So since the early 60s, we've managed to take the 10 Commandments out of the public arena. 73, Roe versus Wade. Okay, it actually was 1970, I believe, when they legalized abortion in New York. Late 70s, no-fault divorce. 2015, gay marriage. So I'm just saying that I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying God sees this as a country turning their back on him. And I can tell you, for those that think it's a joke, just look what's going on in our country, okay? God is not going to bless us for doing the wrong thing. It's real simple. Now, whether you believe in God or not, that's fine. If you're an atheist, that's fine. But even to the atheists, I'll say, look what's going on in our country, okay? So, you know, the Pilgrims, it's very interesting, exactly 400 years ago, made a compact with God. And we were blessed for the longest time. And it's real funny that 400 years later, exactly 400 years later, when they made the compact, we were supposed to celebrate in Plymouth, Massachusetts, the 400th year of the Pilgrims Compact. And instead of celebrating it this summer, we're not celebrating it because of COVID. You think that that is purely coincidental? I don't think so. I don't think so. By the way, 9/11 occurred, right? On 9/11, correct, Dave, 2001?
Yeah.
When was the Pentagon put into place? The same day, exactly 60 years to the day, 9/11. 60 years to the day, when America became a superpower and then started turning its back slowly on God. And then 60 years to the day, on 9/11, 2001, we got hit. We got hit. So now, whether it was an inside job or not, you know, that still was a shaking for the country. So God shakes us all the time, and he's been shaking the U.S. for a while now. In other words, that's his way of shaking us and trying to wake us up and saying, look, guys, I don't want to close the door on you, but there's not much time left. I will close the door on you if I have to. I will step aside. I will step aside if I have to. And if I step aside, guys, that means all hell is coming your way. That's what he's telling us. And a lot of people think it's a big joke and it doesn't exist and whatever. Well, we'll see. If he steps aside and the stuff hits the fan, then you're not going to think it's funny. And then I'll just say one more thing because I got to go. Why is it when a country prospers and is doing well, or even at the individual level, nobody ever needs God, nobody prays. But the minute the stuff hits the fan, you know, somebody has a heart attack, they got cancer, a life-threatening thing, or a country is in a war fighting for their life, all of a sudden they find, you know, religion, so to speak, and they're praying to God again. Why is it that man does that time and time again over the millennium?
Because
Why is that?
There are no atheists in a foxhole.
Exactly. When the stuff really hits the fan and your butt is on the line or in the frying pan and you're like this far from eternity, if you know what I mean, all of a sudden they find God. Why is that? Time and time again. That's why you got to pray in the good times and you got to pray in the bad times. And we need to pray more than ever before because time is running out. Whether you like him or not, Trump should not have won the election the first time around. That was truly a miracle, and most people will agree. Even the pundits, even the people that hate Trump and can't stand him, will probably agree that it was a miracle he won. He should not have won that election. That was absolutely an act of God, and people can laugh at me. That's fine, whatever. He shouldn't have won that election. No way. So is he a perfect person? Far from it. No way. But if you look at history, guys, and you look at the Bible, for example.
God never picks perfect people.
You nailed it. But you understand that. But for those that don't know the word or understand it, they don't understand that. God doesn't pick the most perfect people, guys, all the time. And that's by his design. That's God's way of saying to man, I can do whatever I want. I could take that person that you call the bum in the street with no teeth in his mouth and smells like urine and everything else. I could take that person and I could do anything I want with them above and beyond the richest man on the planet because I'm God. And that's why he usually uses examples like that. And he doesn't take the guy with the perfect teeth and the perfect do who's worth 5 million or whatever. And Trump's not perfect. Of course he's not perfect. None of us are perfect. Right? And I know a lot of people hate him. But let me put it this way, guys. And I'm not necessarily a massive fan of him either, but at least he's trying to stick up for America. If, who do you want in office? A Democrat now? So that we can go purely communistic or socialistic or something? And go down some black vortex? And oh, by the way, defund all the police while we're at it too? Yeah, let's defund all the police. Let's do away with the police. Let's see how good that experiment works. So let's defund the police. And oh, by the way, you can't protect yourself either, particularly in the blue states. Oh, you can't own guns. We don't need the Second Amendment, and we'll take the police away. Well, how's that going to work, guys? Really? You want to try that experiment? I'm not willing to try that. Give me a break. Freaking ridiculous. So this is the time to be praying, everybody, between now and November. Okay. I mean, do you really want nothing against Joe Biden, but he can't string two sentences together. Seriously. And you want him in office running the free world? Really?
Nothing against Joe Biden. Are you kidding me? I have everything against them. Who would vote for any career politician at this point?
Well, I agree with you, bro. But who's running for office, dude? Nobody worthy with half a brain is throwing their hat in the ring. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to go through the mud. They don't want to be disjointed and slandered, and then their family having to deal with this. I mean,
well, if people had continued the tradition of being self-reliant like our ancestors were,
agreed,
then maybe we would not have become so reliant on government where we can't do anything today. Well,
look, there's a book. I what's the name of the book? Basically, there's 4 stages in every modern successful society, right? There's and the stage ends in complacency, in ineptitude, which is where we're at. We're in the 4th stage, but it starts out where the people are self-reliant and strong, right? You know, they're go-getters, they're building stuff up, they're innovative, the free market, all that. We were all that at one point, right?
You had to be.
Then you get comfortable because then you get prosperity, the 2nd stage. Then thirdly, you get comfortable. And then the 4th stage, you get what I call fat, dumb, and happy. You fall asleep because of all that prosperity. You fall asleep at the switch at that point. And then what you do is you start relying on government more and more. And that's how the government continues to grow and get bloated and get big. And everybody thinks that's wonderful. And that's where we're at today.
Yeah, and it's one reason why people should not send their children to college. Well, what else are we going to do with them? I tried to talk everybody out of sending their kids to college. Well, what are they going to do?
Well, I'll tell you what they're going to do. We need good tradesmen. We need good carpenters. Electrician is a great job.
Yeah, and that's what you told me when I was trying to get you not to.
Dude, I'm talking to Jack about that right now. Now, whether he does it is a different story. Not every kid is suited for college. Not to mention the stakes are too high. Your ROI, it's not justified anymore. Most kids, what, you're going to drop 250 grand on a kid? He's going to get a friggin' degree that's completely useless. Unless he's going for specialization to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, that type of thing, highly specialized, whatever. Okay, then fine.
Most parents have the attitude, well, it's not going to hurt them, and I can afford it.
Well, in this case,
I'm willing to take on the burden.
Yeah, well, okay, well, guess what? They're proven wrong. And how do I know that? Because America's broke. America's broke. It's
the same people who think the more money you throw at education, the better students and the better results.
It's not true.
That's been proven 180 degrees opposite.
Okay, this is what I believe, bottom line. All our problems translate back to the family. All of them. All of them. When you don't have a family intact and a mother and father at home teaching the kids certain values and principles, guess what? They grow up knowing nothing. I'll give you an example. Why do you think?
Just look at what's happened to black culture, right? They used to have 80% of their families intact back in the 50s.
I think right up till 1980 or so, and then cocaine ravaged their community.
Today, I read online that it's like 70 or 80% of children are born without a father. Like they don't even know who the father is on the birth certificate.
In their community, yeah.
I don't know if that's true. That's what I read online. I'm not doing a poll in the black, but obviously, and even the white community today, it's that way now, where it might be 40%.
I can tell you that overall, regardless of the community, it's probably over 50% now. Children born out of wedlock or don't even know who the father is. Yeah, and we tout that as hey, no problem. You don't need a father. Well, we've done a great job the last 50 years getting the father out of the house. I mean, look at all the laws and stuff.
They make more money from the government without the father.
Yeah, exactly. In no fault divorce. I mean, a father is a stiff. You don't need a father. What do you need a father for? That's antiquated. That's ancient.
Well, I've said
that's not modern.
Before, and I'm not saying these things to upset people, but it's something that how many people when they were 15 or 18, when before they started getting involved in relationships, how many people thought that they'd have multiple children from multiple partners? Who would have accepted that as being like, yeah, that's great. That's a wonderful aspiration. Oh, it just happened. I don't know how it happened, but it did.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, each kid you have, you get more money from the government. Isn't that freaking
I'm not even involved in the government. I'm talking about people's
no, I get it.
Choices.
Yeah, socially. Yeah, at a social, cultural level. Yeah, I mean, it's a disaster.
How can anybody, and maybe this is the wrong way to think about it, but like if marriage is supposed to be a bond between a man and a woman for a lifetime, how can you take that seriously a second time or a third time? Or, I mean, how can anybody actually sit there with a straight face and said, yes, I will promise to, oh, didn't I say that before? Or, and they've got 3 kids or 5 kids from 3 relations. Yeah, it's just, the whole thing is ridiculous.
Well,
I mean, it's a comedy.
Dude, listen, I don't disagree, but just keep in mind, I mean, you're insulting and you're being judgmental to a lot of people. That's what people will say to you.
I'm making an observation.
Okay.
I'm asking how many people when they were teenagers is what my question was. See, Dan, you don't listen, okay? You don't listen. You're thinking about your own.
I'm not. I'm listening to everything you said. I'm telling you, a lot of people are going to find that comment inflammatory and derogatory.
But
that's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing is
I'm also being facetious at the same time. You know that.
Is if what I'm saying is how many people would have chosen their lives How many people are sitting today in a space that they had no concept that they'd be at? 90%?
I don't know. I don't know because I'll tell you why I say I don't know. On one hand, logically, yeah, 90% plus. On the other hand, that would have been a scarlet letter, okay? But that's not a scarlet letter anymore. I was born in 66, dude, okay? If I was born in 73, I don't know if I'd be here. Who knows? You know, I mean, what about the kids that were born in 68 versus 74 or whatever, right?
Well, that would be interesting to see what the actual birth numbers were in those 2 years. I wonder if it was significantly less in 73, 74, 75 versus 68, 69, 70.
Yeah. A lot of those kids, if the law was around in 69, X amount of those kids probably wouldn't be around today because X amount of them were by accident and it would have been acted upon if the law was in place even then. We're about 310 million population. We've killed about 50 to 60 million babies that we know of since the early 70s. That's about almost 17% of your population.
Dan, you know what you should do?
Almost 20%.
This just popped into my head. You know what you should do?
No.
You know how the debt clock rolls the debt?
Oh, boy.
You should have a death clock.
That's controversial. But to your point, they're probably...
Why is it controversial? Either they're dead or they're not.
Yeah, well, you know what? There probably is some sort of a clock that some site is keeping track of that. But it's been between 50 and 60 million. Now, if somebody's going to argue with me, let me just put it in common sense terms. If somebody's going to argue with me that that's a good thing, then I have a screw loose. Because here's the thing. Out of that 50 or 60 million people, do you know how many probably would have, who knows who we killed? Who would have maybe created the cure to cancer or would have been a scientist to help the world with some new invention.
We would have worthwhile politicians today.
Or maybe a great teacher or something. Do you know what I'm saying? When you kill that many people, 50, 60 million, inevitably you snuffed out in that statistical sample, whatever you want to call it, people that I just rattled off.
You know what they're going to say, you know?
They'll debate it somehow.
No, I'll tell you exactly what they'll say. It's more likely we eliminated more Charles Mansons.
That's not true. I don't buy that.
Dan, all these kids who are getting aborted would have had no family structure, and they would have grown up as animals.
Maybe by now the majority, but early on, no. Because in the mid to late 70s, even into probably the early 80s, the families were fairly intact. So
it would have been a teenage girl living at home with her parents with a baby.
Well, what do you have adoption for? Bottom line is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. What kind of a society do you want to be? Okay, I mean, do you want to be a society, and I think we know the answer, of total convenience? When you're done with something, just throw it out. Or if you don't want to be bothered, just get rid of it. We're talking about a human life here, not a styrofoam cup.
We are killing people all over the world so that we can have the cheapest gas prices in the world.
Yeah, good point.
And we have slave labor in China so that we can buy $5 toasters. We use toasters in the United States, but they cost too much, so they're not made here anymore.
Dude, I get it. We have no manufacturing base. I'm willing to pay more for a toaster if it's made here. I'm willing to. I'm sick of the Walmart stuff. But that's me.
Listen, I've lived this in business. And what people say and what they open their wallet for are two different things.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's why most American companies, if they did not start outsourcing their stuff, they went out of business.
Yeah, they wouldn't survive. I know that. A lot of them are forced into it now. I get it. I get it. It's either do that
if you want to do business with Walmart or Home Depot or any of those companies, the first thing they say, where's your product made? Well, if you're not making it in China or Africa, then you're not going to be able to basically sell it to us at a price where we can make 50% return and have somebody buy it.
Yeah. No, it's a joke.
And that goes to the people of this country are complicit for all their own problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I mean,
we all wanted a shortcut. How often do you think about the 52 million dead babies? I mean, how has it really impacted your life?
I do think about them more than you think, actually, especially since I'm a believer. Because it's called the sanctity of life.
What about people? What about like those guys that I referred to who were in prison, and people will be like, "Well, they did something wrong to deserve being in prison," right? They spent 25 years of their life in prison for something they didn't do, but I'm sure they deserved it. Or how about Julian Assange? He's in prison for actually trying to make the world a better place, but we should execute the bastard.
I get it, because what he's trying to do doesn't subscribe and dovetail into the powers that be. Yeah, look, we've become pardon the crudeness, but as a whole, we're a ballless society. We don't have the guts to do the right thing anymore, in my opinion. It's hard to do the right thing, guys. It's hard to do the right thing. It's not always popular. It's not always easy. You're going to take some blows for it. We're wuss dogs as a whole, in my opinion.
Listen, Dan, I can barely pay my rent. I've got kids running around the house doing this, doing that. I can't be bothered with this stuff.
Okay, I get it. So how many kids do you have, by the way? How many?
I've got 18.
No. So most of those people, with all due respect, are going to say, I got 3 or 4. Okay, great. Is it from the same father? No, it's probably from 2 or 3. But even if it's just one, they're probably not together. So, I mean, it's a disaster. It's a cluster, in my opinion. But there's people that debate me. I got people in my own family that say it doesn't matter. And it makes me semi-violent. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Of course it matters, you knucklehead. How can that not matter? You bring the kid into the world under the totally wrong guise and way to do it, and the kid's going to grow up jacked up. How does it not matter? You decided to bring the kid in the world, okay, mechanically and biologically, and you decided to have fun that night, but now you weren't willing the next 20 years to raise them the right way. And so now the kid's jacked up. Who's going to pay for it? They grow up screwed up, and then they hook up with somebody and they're jacked up, and the person they hook up with is jacked up, and then they have kids, and the process repeats itself. And that's how a society falls apart over time. That's how every empire eventually fails. I'm not saying we're an empire, but you know what I mean.
You sent me a video. I don't know if you sent me a video of Rand Paul debating Fauci.
Yeah, probably.
Is that you who sent me the video?
Yes.
Is that Dollar Vigilante?
Yes.
Okay. What were they debating?
About going back to school, right?
About going back to school. Why is that such a big topic?
Well, because you've got single parents mostly, and they need the babysitting.
Bingo.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to this country come September?
Yeah, you're smiling. It's not funny. I mean, for the single mothers that have a kid or 2, 3 kids, yeah, it's a disaster. What do they do? Because the reality is they can't afford $1,000 a week for childcare or $500 a week for childcare.
They're not going to go back to work, Dan. They're going to stop COVID.
I get it.
Say I need the $600 a week to stay home with my kid.
I totally get it. Exactly.
People don't see what's coming.
I see what's coming. I get it. Yeah, they're not going to even be able to afford to go back to work, to your point. They're better off staying at home, economically speaking. Okay, so short term, that's fine. Long term, it's a friggin' disaster.
The woman would stay at home while the husband went to work.
Yeah. Well, when we were kids, the mothers were home. But that's considered, sexist and everything else. Right. A woman's better than that.
When Archie Bunker was on TV.
Yeah. Right. A woman's better than that. She doesn't need to stay home and raise the kids. Okay, good. So keep the father home. Let him. Oh, I forgot. There's no father. So who's raising the kids? If you're not going to raise the kids, then don't have kids.
Your friends.
What friends? Are you kidding me? We live in a society now. The neighbors don't even know each other. Go knock on your neighbor's door and ask for milk.
No. Kids have friends.
Oh.
They have like 8,952 friends.
Oh, on TikTok. Sorry, my bad.
Or whatever they use these days.
Yes, I'm so popular on Facebook. I have 2,143 friends. They love me.
Wait, stop.
They know who I am, too.
What am I doing?
Flexing your pecs again?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. No, I get it. No, I know.
Things.
Yeah, I know the selfie world. I get it.
How many have you ever seen like young people that just walk?
Yeah, I've seen it. Let's not go there. I get it.
Girls
Everybody's living the dream. They're driving the Ferrari and, whatever. And I'm down in the Caymans, that's their internet persona. Meanwhile, they're working 16 side hustles, which means part-time jobs because they can't afford to pay the rent. That's the society and the economy we've created. And oh, by the way, companies like Amazon are leading the charge. But Jeff Bezos won't tell you that.
Yes, sir. Well,
I'm nobody. I'm just gone Q public. I'm just some stiff, ex-corporate stiff. That's who I am.
Well, there we go. We're back to what did we think our lives are going to be when we're 14, 15, 18?
Exactly.
I can guarantee you most people, when they drew the picture of where they'd be when they were 30, 40, 50, 60.
I am a 54-year-old has-been. That's fine. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks.
Waiting to die.
No, I'm not waiting to die. I try to live my life every day. I try to have fun every day. I'm an amateur musician. I love music. I try to enjoy a slice as much as I can every day. But in general, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. That's our society,
Most people are waiting to die.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I mean, most Americans aren't that happy, in my opinion. They're not. We're supposed to be the world leader and stuff. Look at the crap we export. Such a joke.
Well, Dan, you're a father. I mean, most people live through their children.
Probably, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that becomes now it's not their life. It's now their children's life.
Yeah. Well, and that's
really what it's about.
No, it's not, because here's a big farce. You hear people say this all the time, and it actually maddens me. It really makes me mad because it's just stupid. People say all the time, well, the children, of course they're important, okay, but they're the most important no matter what. Well, look how that's working. Look how upside down we are, okay? When the children are put first in a marriage, things are actually upside down. That's when the husband and wife now aren't spending enough time together and stuff like that, which is vital. Because if it wasn't for the husband and wife and the marriage, which is the baseline, there would be no children, there would be no family. But instead now in America, we reverse.
Now you have the dichotomy. You got the problem where you've got children who aren't even each other's children.
Well,
so
you got to let me.
Do you think that your wife is going to care about you over their children who from another guy?
Okay. You interrupted my thought. Well, what I'm trying to say is that we've reversed things. By putting the children first, you actually should put God first, then children. We've reversed it in America, and that's another reason why the families are a mess. And now you've got the kids running the house.
Is it guilt? You just said a few minutes ago that most children don't have a father at home.
Yeah, a lot of them don't, and the ones that do, they reverse it that way. Yeah, they reverse it, and the ones that do, most of them reverse it. With how I was trying to explain it, yeah. The kids should not be the most important, because then they're running the roost at that point, and you wonder why they're spoiled brats.
Is they're going to be out of the household at some point, and you're going to turn around.
You nailed it.
and be like,
Right.
"Oh,
Meanwhile, the relationship between the husband and wife has become totally disconnected. You see this all the time. The ones that do stick together. Then when the kids are 18 or 20 or 21, they finish college, they friggin' divorce anyway. They've been waiting 7 years to get divorced. I mean, that's where we're at.
Those are the 40% that didn't get divorced. They're just waiting.
Yeah, whatever it is. But the point is, that's where we're at in America. All the problems trace back to the family. Nobody addresses that. None of the politicians talk about it. All they talk about is they're not treating the core issue. They're treating like the symptom, right? They say more jobs, better technology, more education. Blah, blah. Guess what, bozo? None of that's going to fix anything because the root of all of the problems stem back to the family. Right. So because there's no family, the kid doesn't learn work ethic. He doesn't learn discipline. He's 20 years old, has 16 credit cards, and he's already 50 grand in debt with the credit cards.
And
doesn't know
how long
why.
has that been going on? Since the 70s?
I would say since the 60s or 70s. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how in God's name is anybody born today in that situation going to have to, how are they going to learn what they should be doing when there's zero examples of it for 50 years?
They're not going to. That's the point. And so it's not only the cycle not only repeats, but I argue it not only repeats, but it also goes downhill even that much faster of a magnitude, whether it's double, triple, or whatever. So you not only have that cycle repeating, but the magnitude of your decline is even faster now. You're building up steam. You're building up steam downhill.
Well, it becomes mainstream. That's normal.
Exactly. Well, that too, right. So as the snowball gets bigger, as you're rolling downhill, that's considered mainstream. As the cluster gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it builds up speed.
That's why
Wait
men wear
till
jewelry today. In
Yeah.
their ears, in their nose, their
Yeah.
tongues, because they were raised by women.
Yeah. I mean, you got, we have, look, I don't want to broach on that because it's going to insult a lot of people or whatever, but we've talked about it. You have a lot of effeminate stuff going on now and stuff like that.
Well, it
and
might not
whatever.
be effeminate, but it's subconscious.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you, especially as a male, if all you grew up was, and I love women, don't get me wrong, and females, but if all you grew up was around females, you're going to be probably more that way than the other way, because that's all you ever knew as you came out from out of the womb, right out of the womb. That's all you ever knew.
Men. I mean, there's a lot of guys who wear earrings and toe rings and belly button rings. And who probably
Okay. Yeah.
who
Yeah.
beat the shit out of me.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying that they're
Me
not
too.
men. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that either.
It goes to, okay, and they'll be like, hey, man, pirates wore earrings.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Captain Hook.
Didn't Jesus Christ have an earring?
Not that I'm aware of.
Didn't he have a toe ring?
He did have long hair, though.
He did have long hair. And he probably wasn't even white.
No, he's probably dark features, similar to mine. Probably dark eyebrows, dark hair, whatever.
Maybe he was Indian. All right, dude. Well, hopefully we covered some ground, and that's the end of the churches. Next week, it talks about the throne in heaven.
Yes, getting into the trumpets and stuff.
Very short book.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, hey, well, have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
Yes.